I spent my whole life building something I thought they'd be proud of. A company from nothing, a legacy. I gave my family a big house, stability, vacations, everything I never had growing up. But I missed something. Something quiet, something I didn't notice until it was gone. My son used to wait by the window with a baseball glove. Now he walks past me like I'm furniture. This isn't a story about failure. It's about realizing too late what matters and learning how to face it anyway. I started the business with a borrowed truck and busted tools. Long days, cold coffee, no promises, but it was honest work. And it felt like I was building more than houses. I was building a future for my family. Every nail I drove, I imagined it holding up something that would last. I wasn't chasing money so much as security, the kind I never had growing up. I told myself that sweat today meant comfort tomorrow, not just for me, but for everyone under my roof. Back then, I believed love looked like labor, that if I showed up with full pockets, it would mean more than if I showed up tired. Turns out, it's not that simple. Every hour I worked, I told myself it was for them. Missed birthdays? For them. Late dinners? For them. I wore provider like a badge. I thought presence could wait. That time would stretch. It doesn't. You blink, and your kid's voice changes. You miss enough of the little things, and one day, they stop sharing the big ones. I was proud of being the guy who always showed up for the job, but I didn't realize how often I didn't show up for them. It's easy to mistake sacrifice for love, but sometimes what looks like selflessness is really just fear. Fear of being still, of being known, of not being enough without the work. My son used to wait for me by the door, baseball glove in hand. "Just 5 minutes, Dad?" I always said tomorrow. Then tomorrow became next week. Then he stopped asking. I'd come home to a quiet house, lights low, dinner cold. I'd peek into his room. Sometimes he was still awake, headphones on, eyes on a screen instead of me. I told myself we'd catch up on the weekend, but weekends filled up too. Somehow, I became the guy who was always almost there. And when you're always almost there, you might as well not be there at all. My wife noticed first. The quiet dinners, the shrugged shoulders, the way our boy laughed less. She said, "He needs you, Ray." I said, "I'm doing this for him." I didn't see the difference. I thought love meant giving. Turns out, it also means receiving. Receiving the mess, the moods, the everyday nothing moments that stitch a family together. But I wasn't around for those. I kept thinking I'd make it up to him later. But the truth is, kids don't wait. They grow up in the silence you leave behind, and by the time you turn around, you're a guest in your own home. The business grew, trucks with logos, crew shirts, contracts in 3 counties. I thought the bigger it got, the prouder they'd be. But the house got quieter, and I got lonelier. There were trophies on the office wall, but none on the fridge. My son started locking his door. My wife stopped waiting up. I was surrounded by noise at work, drills, radios, guys yelling across sites. But it just made the silence at home louder. I used to think success would fix everything. But success can't hug you. It can't ask how your day was. It can't forgive you for missing the years that mattered most. At school, they called me involved. I wrote the checks, sponsored the fundraisers, even had my company's name on the back of the Little League jerseys. But I couldn't tell you the name of my son's best friend, or what book he stayed up reading, or who broke his heart in 8th grade. I knew when the tuition was due, when the project fees hit. I knew the numbers, not the boy. And for a while, that seemed enough. I told myself being a good father meant making sure he never went without. But I missed the truth staring me in the face. He needed me, not just what I could provide. One evening I came home early, first time in weeks. The porch light was still on, but the glove by the door was gone. So was the waiting. I walked in expecting to hear, "Dad, you're home." But it was quiet. He was in his room, door shut, light off. I stood there for a while, hand on the doorknob, heart heavy. That was the night I realized, kids don't slam doors. They close them quietly, forever. Not out of anger, out of understanding. He'd stopped hoping I'd come around. He'd moved on, and I hadn't even noticed. Retirement parties, new managers, all the signs of success. I stood there in a suit that didn't quite fit right anymore, listening to people thank me for building something that would outlive me. I smiled, nodded, raised a glass. But when I looked out into the crowd, I didn't see him. My son. I saved him a seat, right in front, left it empty, just in case. But he didn't come, not even a text, and I don't blame him. That chair had been empty for him for years. I just didn't notice until I sat down in front of it myself. I called him a few days after the retirement, just wanted to hear his voice. "Let's grab dinner," I said. He said he was busy. I asked when he'd be free. He said, "I don't know." There was no frustration in his voice, no blame, just distance, like I wasn't someone he needed to lie to anymore, like he'd already let go. That silence between us, it wasn't filled with anger. It was worse than that. It was quiet, cold, like walking into a house you used to live in and realizing none of your things are there anymore. I found a box of photos in the attic, dusty albums, curled edges. There he was, dressed as a pirate, a superhero, a tree one year. I don't remember any of those Halloweens. There was one from a science fair. He was smiling next to a volcano model. I remember the model. I helped him build it. But I didn't go. Too busy bidding on a new contract. The smiles in those pictures, they looked posed, like he was practicing how to be okay without me, like he already knew not to expect me in the frame. People say success has a price. I just didn't think the price would be someone's childhood. I thought I was winning, building something, climbing. But every hour I spent away was an hour I didn't get back. My boy grew up without me even realizing it. I blinked, and he was taller than me, talking like a man, driving, dating. All of it happened while I was out being the man I thought he needed. Turns out, he just needed a dad. And I was too busy being a provider to notice the sand slipping through my hands. One night at a bar, some guy said, "The first 10 years, that's when it counts." He was talking about parenting. I laughed, then I didn't, because I missed all 10. I was out chasing something I thought was noble, and maybe it was. But nobility doesn't tuck a kid in at night. It doesn't show up to school plays or make pancakes on Saturdays. I used to think there'd be time later, when things settled, when money wasn't so tight. But later has a way of turning into never. That guy didn't know me, but he hit a nerve. 10 years. That's all it takes to build a childhood, or miss one entirely. I saw him through the window once, laughing with his friends, telling stories. He had a life, one I wasn't in. He didn't look angry, just separate, like I didn't fit anymore. And that's what stung the most. Not that he hated me, but that he didn't seem to need me. I used to be the center of his world. Now, I was just someone passing by. I watched him from behind the glass, and it hit me. I gave him everything except the one thing he wanted most, me. Not the man in work boots, just his dad. I tried writing a letter. I must have started 30 drafts, crumpled pages, deleted emails. Nothing sounded right. Because how do you say, I wish I'd known how to love you better. How do you say that without sounding like a man asking for something he didn't earn? I wasn't looking for forgiveness. I just wanted him to know I see it now. The gaps, the absence, the quiet ache that never got named. But even the best apology can't bring back a birthday, or a ball game, or a Tuesday night with nothing special except that we were together. He lives in the city now, busy street, tall building, whole new world. I drove out once, just sat in my truck across the street, watched him walk into his building, headphones on, backpack slung low. He looked at peace, grown, and I froze. I didn't get out, didn't knock. I wasn't sure if I had the right anymore. Not because of anything he said, he's never been cruel, but because I missed so many chances, I started to believe I didn't deserve another one. Sometimes absence doesn't come from rejection. Sometimes it comes from regret. For a long time I tried to fix it, reach out, explain, prove something, sent messages, left voicemails, waited. But maybe what he needed wasn't an explanation. Maybe he just needed space. So I gave him that, even if it hurt. Because when someone grows in your absence, they don't always grow toward you. I stopped trying to fill the silence and started listening to what it was telling me. That love doesn't always come wrapped in reconnection. Sometimes it just means honoring the distance and hoping that one day he might come a little closer when he's ready. I still have that baseball glove, cracked leather, worn string. Found it in the garage under a pile of old receipts and rusted tools. When I picked it up, it felt heavier than I remembered. I held it like it could speak, like it might whisper back the sound of my son's voice, asking, "Just 5 minutes, Dad?" That glove saw hope, and it saw disappointment. I don't know why I kept it. Maybe part of me always knew I'd need the reminder, not of what I built, but of what I missed. It's not just a glove. It's a memory I didn't live and a promise I didn't keep. What I've learned is this: you don't get the early years back. No raise, no contract, no empire can buy them. I used to treat presents like a luxury, something I'd get to once the dust settled. But presents isn't a bonus. It's the whole job. You don't parent on weekends. You don't love in leftover time. Kids don't remember what you paid for. They remember who was there. And the truth is, I wasn't. Not really. I was in the background of my own story, building something I thought mattered, while the most important parts of my life happened without me. These days, I do less, sit more, listen more. I don't fill the silence so quickly. I call without a reason, not to fix anything, just to say hi. I don't expect answers, but every now and then he picks up, and we talk. Not long, not deep, but real. I ask how he's sleeping, what he's working on. I try not to turn the conversation into a project, just let it be. And slowly, I feel something shift. Maybe not trust, not yet, but presence. The kind I didn't know how to offer before, the kind that doesn't try to impress, just exists. I used to want him to see me, to see how hard I worked, what I built, how I sacrificed. But now, I just want to see him, who he is, what he loves, what makes him laugh. Even if I'm not in that picture, I want to know the shape of his life. I ask about his friends, his job, his music. I try to meet him where he is, not where I wish he'd be. And I remind myself, it's not about catching up. It's about showing up. Not for what I missed, but for what's still here. For him, as he is, not as a second chance. I can't go back, I know that. But I can be here now. I can answer when he calls. I can ask how his day was and mean it. I can let the past be part of our story, not the whole thing. It's not about grand gestures anymore. It's not about proving anything. It's just showing up and staying, being steady, being honest, being willing to hear the hard stuff and not flinch. That's what fatherhood is, not the checkbook, not the grind, just presence, quiet, simple, and real. I didn't know that then, but I know it now. I thought I was building a legacy, a name, a business that would outlast me. Turns out, I was just laying bricks between me and the people I loved. Every late night, every missed moment, it stacked up, solid, cold. And by the time I looked up, I couldn't see my boy on the other side. If I could go back, I'd still work hard. I'm proud of that. But I'd come home before dark, every time. I'd sit on the porch. I'd throw the ball. I'd be there, fully. Because now I know, the real legacy isn't what you build, it's who you build it with. And if any part of this story felt familiar, if you've ever looked back and wondered what really mattered, I hope it gave you something to sit with, maybe even something to change. If it did, consider subscribing. Leave a comment. I'd truly like to hear your story. Did you have a moment when you realized presence mattered more than provision? And if you're still with me, there's another voice you might want to hear. His name's Jerry. He built houses too, and lost almost everything along the way. You'll find his story in the next video. It's quiet, honest, and it stays with you.